things. Holy shit, look at that guy. Now you just see fragmented cloud, right? But you just gotta change the perspective, start looking at the smaller details. And you gotta try this stuff out on your own. You gotta watch the clouds, you gotta video them, take pictures. There's stuff that you can see and get from watching and going back and looking that you don't get from just standing outside and looking up, right? I mean, there are things, obviously for me, you know, it did start by just looking up, but I didn't know what I was looking at. I just knew things were strange. And for some reason, I kept feeling drawn to keep looking, and I kept looking, and I kept looking, and I took pictures and recorded. And then one day, it just hit you, and it hits you in the face, right? Your skin starts tingling, your hair starts standing on end. You realize what it is that you're looking at, and then for me, the communication started. You know, I started interacting with these beings. Started getting little downloads here and there that started to get to be bigger downloads here and there, and then all the information starts lining up with what insiders are coming out with, you know, albeit in ways that require some dot connecting, but in very, very clear and concise ways. You know, I'm not even recording this video right now to necessarily, like, you know, you're not I know what I'm looking at. You know, I don't expect everybody to, but listen to what I'm saying. Understand what I'm saying. Hear me out. This isn't exactly the most obvious day or like the kind of video I'm like, oh man, look at this. Everybody's gonna know what I'm talking about because of this video. No, I'm just ranting, talking. Some really cool stuff out here. You know, don't overthink it. Don't try to overanalyze. Just take it in. Let it affect you in some way that allows you to open up a little bit so that when you have the experience yourself, you'll understand that the seed will be planted. Don't just reject it and fight it. Right? How many other things in the world were we incapable of understanding until it just like hit us in the face, right? The cabal, the elite, all this sex slavery that goes on in the world. How many of us grew up knowing about all that? And then how many of us came to a harsh awakening, right? This isn't something harsh, this is something actually very cool, very awesome. And there's a reason for it. Wow, look at that. See a triangle tip, triangle body. Each one of these individual things. See amazing geometry and symmetry. There's craft within craft. There's layers. There's big ones, there's little ones. That giant one over there, right? And then smaller ones flying in between. You have these large tanker crafts that carry smaller craft. You have different groups and factions, usually not together. You know, there's certain circumstances where you see different groups and factions flying together at the same time. But for the most part, you'll actually, like today, everything in the sky, I believe, is a single group. They're flying together, it's a fleet. Right? Then there's other cases where that's not the case. There's other cases where you can see, oh man, I guess some of these are so cool. You know, there's other cases where you can see that they're actually either something like battling, you know, one is pushing another one out. There's some sort of resistance between the two. You know, this is all stuff I've witnessed and observed, and You know, it's pretty epic stuff. Sometimes they're just putting on a show for you, the observer. Sometimes they're just drifting. Many of them are here because of what have happening on our planet right now. Where else are they supposed to go? And what a great way to hide. What a great way to be disguised while allowing us through our free will to discover their presence and to embody it on our own time. Or not to embody, but to embrace it on our own time, on our own volition, on our own accord. And when we do, more and more people do, you can sure as hell believe that there's going to be a revealing. It's going to lead to something else. Because if enough people realize that we're being surrounded by them all the time, disclosure would happen overnight. There'd be nothing stopping it. There'd be nothing to stop it. But it's us that stand in the way. It's our closed-minded ignorance, thinking that we know all there is, or not constantly seeking what's beyond our basic senses. Right? If we tune in, I'm telling you, if you do, you can see them. You will see them. They're right there. It's so obvious. Got more of our icy friends, right? Quote unquote icy. Those guys. And then see as they're flying around, and then you get shots of them where they're just at the right angle that you can see the structure of the craft and the dimensionality of it, right? You gotta like keep your eyes on, because as they're drifting, because of the nature of how they appear, sometimes you won't immediately recognize, and then sometimes it's like, whoa, that's really symmetrical. That's totally like a perfect backward C-shaped thingy with this like hole on it. You know, you catch it from the right angle and you observe and you look. This guy I have tons of pictures of, right? I've seen all of these before. I see all these all the time. You know, they're like my friends. They're regular staples of my life. I was just organizing pictures of this guy a couple days ago, actually. I have some other pictures of that one. Sort of called it a guitar, I believe, in my files. I just kind of name them after whatever I feel like. But what's interesting is actually other people that do this, other researchers that I've reached out to in the world that are having the same experience and studying this. It's interesting how often people come up with the same names for things. You know, when it's really like obvious, it's, you know, not interesting, but sometimes it's like, whoa, the fact that we both call them the same things, it's pretty strange, pretty synchronistic, definitely not a coincidence, more like a form of contact from receiving these downloads. You know, that some of us are being reached out to. Some of us have been contacted in part to help spread the word and get the information out there, in part for our own benefit and spiritual growth, in part because it's our families. So we clearly see every shape and detail within that one. See the bright white part, and then there's the dark, like, sort of circle thing above it, right? And this is the front face of this craft. See it? lines and how it moves, if you see that that's the face, then that top edge, you know, makes perfect sense that that downward slanting part in the back is going backwards towards the back, right? It's like a whale shape. It's like a cyclops whale, right? Look at it like that it's like swimming sort of towards us. Oh yeah, look, as soon as I say cyclops, right in that circle, a dark hole opens up where the people would be. Way cool. Got a lot of these guys today. There's a lot of the same ones actually over and over again. Sometimes I wonder if they're the same ones going back and forth, or if they're just, you know, lots of the same ship in the fleet. Sorry, lighting my cigarette. Just play with it in your mind. You know, think like, okay, if that's the front, that's the back, right? Go through a whole process. Now, I never just like, you know, look at them and I'm like, you know, a lot of the times if I'm familiar with them, if I've seen them enough, I can immediately recognize them. But a lot of the time, the shapes are not, you know, so clear. And you kind of like have to study it a little bit and think, okay, well, if that's that, but that line connects to there, and if that goes that way, and then you might have it all wrong, right? But then over time, like, you slowly put the pieces together more and more and more, and it just comes together. And when it does come together, it snaps, it clicks, it pops into place, and you're like, holy shit, there it is, there's the craft. Oh shit, that guy. I have an old picture from way back in the day of a really good one of those. My battery's dying. Things are toning down a little bit. I could do this all day, but I hope this helped a little bit. I hope some people watch this. I hope we can get this information out there. I hope I can get people looking themselves. This is Ross. This is the Entente Ciel Azur, signing out.